Sleepy Ghost.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sleepy Ghost. Today I'm drawing my character Sin. He is from a project that I'd like to start. This is a very major project for me, something that I have been planning for as long as I can remember, and I think it's finally time to start because I never felt like I was up to the level that I wanted to be to do it, or I just made excuse after excuse because it's such a daunting project to actually begin that I was stuck in the planning phases for a very long time. When you get stuck like that, it gets harder and harder to begin because the project and the plans get bigger and bigger, and it gets a little overwhelming to where do you start? Where are you supposed to begin? I found with my other work that starting at literally any point is going to give you some sort of momentum to get the thing going. Then it's not going to seem so scary. And so here we are. We are starting with just a drawing. I actually don't have much artwork for this project anymore that I like. So I was starting with something that simple, just a drawing of one of my main characters, and that is getting things going. This project is also the start of my YouTube channel. This channel is going to be documenting this entire process of making this comic. So I hope you'll join me for that. I'm very excited. This has been a long time in the making and it's finally here. I find it's really easy to get hung up planning, wanting to know every last detail before you even begin. And I feel like that can be good for a bit, but it's also a trap. It's impossible to have every last detail planned out and know exactly how it's going to be in its final form before you even start. And it takes a bit of fun out of even the process. If you have everything mapped out beforehand, you don't give yourself any room to have any happy accidents or discover new things as you go. And sometimes I find that those accidents or discoveries are the best pieces to your art. That's kind of when you've put in enough work to the project that it's almost taking on its own life and showing you where it's going. And that's one of my favorite things. Now, realistically, there is actually a lot of planning you have to do before you begin a comic book, but I try to tell myself, even with the story, don't get too bogged down in all of the details because those will come to you as you're going. And the more the story itself and your characters show you those details, the more authentic all of it's going to be as a cohesive piece of art. A story I always like to think about is that in the original Star Wars, Darth Vader's first name was actually Darth. At that time, it wasn't a title, it was just his first name. And that just goes to show you that you really don't have to have things figured out, and that you could always even go back later and kind of finagle things to work when you discover all of these details. And that is a perfect example of that happening. And really what it all comes down to is that you are never going to reach the level you want to be at with that project until you start it. If you look back at any of your favorite comic books, TV shows, any series, and you take a look at the first episode, you can see it's always pretty rough in comparison to when the show's been on for a couple seasons, or you're like 10 issues in and the creators really found their sweet spot. When you look back at the more rough first episodes, you don't think like, oh wow, this is so bad, this is awful. You think, wow, look how far they've come. And I find that really inspiring. So, embracing the idea of starting anywhere with this drawing, I wanted to just do something fun. I am painting in a little bit of a different style than I normally do. I wanted to do something that was more just for fun and an image that I could look back on and maybe find some inspiration from. So this is definitely a bit more painterly than I am planning to do for the comic. I wouldn't say the style is so very different, but the colors are definitely going to be more of a cell shaded look than this. I mentioned earlier that this is my character Sin, and he is a magic user. One thing I haven't totally decided on is what to call the magic users in this world. Should we go with the stock and standard wizard? I don't know. I never really liked the word wizard. It just seems kind of cheesy to me. And then I considered mage, even caster. So these are just some of the thoughts going through my head while I'm painting this. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think the best thing to call the magic users in this world would be. I'm really curious what you guys could come up with. We can go totally crazy and just do some completely made up word, but I want people to actually talk about this and not have to learn a completely new terminology. I want it to be not too complicated for no reason at all. It's never fun when, especially if you come in a bit later and you see something really cool and you're like, wow, let me check this out. And then everybody who's talking about it, you have no idea what they're actually saying. And at that point, you have to make a choice. Am I going to devote a lot of time to figure out what they're saying? Or am I just going to move on and go for something easier? I feel like, especially now with people's attention spans, what they are, you probably have less than a second to get most people interested in what you're doing. So that's why I think I'd prefer to keep things on the easier side. That's not to say that there won't be depth and a lot of care put into all of this, but I don't see a reason to overcomplicate things if it's not serving the story or the art. I say that knowing that I have a serious problem with overcomplicating everything for no reason at all. So me telling myself that I'm not going to overcomplicate things is definitely wishful thinking. We'll see what actually happens, but who knows? Maybe I'm cured. As of now, starting now. I do have to mention, I really love drawing hair so much. I don't know about you guys. It's just kind of this mindless, flowy, fun thing that you don't have to really pay too much attention to. And just getting the shapes in there is just so much fun to me. It's really similar to drawing trees. I really like drawing trees too. Here, I'm kind of trying to figure out his ascot. Well, I say ascot. It's not really looking like an ascot anymore, kind of just a fancy shirt. My original intent was there to be some sort of ascot happening, and it doesn't seem to be going that way. I really would like to start getting some finalized character sheets going and really get these outfits down. I like the idea of having different outfits at different times for my characters, but at the same time, I feel like in the beginning especially, a lot of people use the characters' outfits to kind of remember them by. So I think that I should definitely have some sort of base standard. This is their all the time outfit that kind of helps you remember, oh, this is the guy with the fancy jacket. That's right, I remember what he's up to. I feel like it's important, at least until you can get your characters established. You never know when you're going into a new series is this the only guy with white hair? Is he the only one that looks kind of like this? I really personally try to go out of my way to make my characters look very different from each other. But in other stories, for example, House of the Dragon, everybody has white hair and braids. So, until you could let your audience know, hey, this is the only guy with white hair, so don't really worry about what he's wearing. I feel like it's best to get that established first before you go all crazy with the outfits. So I'm going to have to revisit this outfit later. I'm just going to add a few finishing touches here. This was definitely a lot of fun for me. One thing I always do when I finish a painting is give myself a little bit of a break and then come back and take a look at things so that you can do some last minute finishing touches at the very end to make sure that it's as good as it possibly can be when you've given your eyes a rest and you can catch anything maybe you missed. All right, that's it for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please be sure to like and subscribe and share it if you did. I would be so very happy for all of you to join me on this project from the beginning. And I'm very excited about what's to come for the future. Thanks for watching and stay spooky.